Well, I didn't think I'd be speaking to you again so soon, but yesterday something really terrible happened. 13-year-old girl named Paige Jackson committed suicide because she was being bullied. And you say, Dee, this happens all the time. What makes this one so special? It's sad. We hear about it every day. And you're right, but this one affected me directly. Paige was a follower of mine on Twitter. And many of you have Twitter, and you have followers. And in my case, I have a lot of followers. And I'm considered to be very active on Twitter. I usually go a couple times a day, and I read through most of the things or screen most of the things. It's 140 characters, so it's not that difficult to get the gist of a text or a retweet. Actually, text is the wrong word. Retweet. Paige was one of those fans, a young fan who was really passionate and really enthusiastic. She discovered me and my music, a very young fan for sure. It was like a revelation to her, I guess. And she became a huge fan, and she tweeted very aggressively. I mean that in the most positive way. I mean, just very upbeat, very bubbly, very sweet tweets. And, you can't answer every tweet. I can't. So I usually pick them, and the way I kind of pick the ones to answer is if I think the response or the question will have a wider interest. So if somebody asks you something and it's something you think others might be interested, it's not like a personal thing, like, which of my two school projects you like best? Not that Paige asked that, but, that's a personal communication. And since the tweets go out to everybody and time is limited, you can't spend time answering all those. I do a lot of favoriting, acknowledging I read it, acknowledging that I appreciated what they were saying, click on the heart. I know that means a lot to people. And of course, Paige, when I liked one of her tweets, would just light up. And she became more and more enthusiastic and passionate. And when one day I saw that she had played The Price on guitar and sang it in class, and said that she was afraid to do it, she did it, and her teachers were proud of her. I took a moment to tweet to her that I was proud of her too, and that I appreciated how scary it can be, especially when you're a kid, those first forays into live performing, especially in front of your classmates. They can be so critical and so harsh. So that just lit Paige up even more, because I had responded to a tweet. And at this point, I think that's when she changed her screen picture to mine. She was getting me presents that she was wrapping and tweeting me pictures of them. And it was very sweet. It's really lovely when a young person gets so enthusiastic. When any person gets enthusiastic, but for an old dude like me, whose music's been around for a while, for a young person to discover you, find value in what you're doing, and be excited about it, that feels especially good. And so then days are going by, and I see that Paige broke her leg. How'd she break her leg? She broke her leg falling down the stairs, dancing to You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, or jumping. I don't know what she was jumping on her bed. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she injured herself. She was going so crazy to my music, she fell and she hurt herself. I felt bad about that, but at the same time, there was a sweetness in the raw enthusiasm, the reckless abandon of young people with music, and the excitement they get from discovering a song that really speaks to them. Well, one day, it's a week or so ago, Paige tweeted to me that she was being bullied, and she was afraid, and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know who to talk to. And this is something that I felt that I could communicate to a wider audience. And again, that responding to one of those things that's something that's general interest. And so I told her that she needed to find somebody that she could trust. And she shouldn't necessarily be afraid to talk to her parents. These are people who loved her. We're always afraid to talk to our parents. But ultimately, even when you're growing up and your parents are down on you, hopefully you know that they, in their heart of hearts, worship you and not want nothing bad to happen to you. So it turned out she was cutting herself as well. And some of you guys joined in, which was great, in communicating with her and trying to help her along and showing her she wasn't alone out there. And she spoke to her mom. And again, as I'm screening, I noticed that her mom started tweeting Kelly Jackson. And she started tweeting, and she was communicating with her daughter through Twitter, which it sounds kind of weird, but it isn't really. I mean, sometimes I've seen in my own relationships with my kids, there's been times where we could text each other more in a more relaxed form and communicate better through texting than we could through open speaking. The texting somehow allowed a pause, allowed each person's thing to be considered, and took the tone out of the conversation, and you know, it just sort of made it easier. And I noticed Kelly was communicating, and clearly from her text and the going back and forth, Mom cared, was concerned, was supportive, and was there for her daughter. And yesterday morning, when I looked at the time stamp, it was before school, Paige texted me and said, Paige asked me how I dealt with that. I said, you've never been bullied, or you never had dealt with that. And I said, listen, I've got my haters. And throughout my life, I've dealt with that being different, being strange. And, and I said, and that's what I do. This is how I handle it. And, I gave her some suggestions, ignoring them and getting away from them and, just avoiding, just things that a young girl can do. Obviously, she's not going to go up and punch him in the face. And she was definitely took it to heart, and was the fact that I had dealt with stuff. I think it helped. It meant something to her. And I noticed again, some of you guys were tweeting her on this as well and giving her some encouragement. So the last tweet she sent, and it was clearly right before school. I think it was 7:59 a.m. at least on my clock where I am. And it said, if you can stand up, if you can ignore or face down, I forgot what I retweeted, you may have seen if you follow me on Twitter, if you can deal with your haters, I can deal with mine. Or if you can ignore your haters, whatever it was. It was very positive and emboldened. And she said, and Dee, I wrote you a song. I forgot the title of it. It was really sweet. But again, she said, I'm going to edit it and send it to you. I went off, going about my day, and I was actually in the dentist chair of all things. And I said, let me check my Twitter feed. And I see this pile of tweets from Kelly, Paige's mom. And she's trying to communicate with her daughter. And there's some early communication that Paige is in distress at school. And somebody found a suicide note. And poor Kelly is panicking, justifiably so. And then as I scroll through the tweets, I get to the fact that Paige has slashed her wrists, attempted suicide. And then, again, I'm not constantly on Twitter. And then ultimately Kelly tweets that her daughter had died, bullied to the point that she killed herself. And I can't imagine losing a child, and or what about losing it in like real time with a Twitter feed between you? I mean, how bizarre. And from the tweets, Kelly saw that things were going terribly wrong. From this happy tweet I got in the morning that from this girl who wrote a song for me and was gonna, was gonna be strong in the face of bullying, to actually taking her own life. And as a father, as a grandfather, directly here's a bullying death for the first time I've been directly connected to in some capacity. And it just brings me to the bullying issue, and it is time to fight back. And the only thing bullies understand is a superior force. Bullies only respect being bullied. When they are bullied more intensely, when they're shut down, that's when they stop their shit. And if you're saying, oh, these are kids, this girl was in junior high school, feel sorry for them, fuck that. Fuck that. We got to start treating bullying like it's a crime, like a true crime. Like when people drink and drive and they kill somebody, there's repercussions. I just saw some girls going to prison for taking her mother's car, 17 years old, drinking and driving, killing somebody. Send a message, hit them hard. We got a new president come in who bullying is pretty much his thing, but his wife, Melania, our new first lady, has said she wants to make bullying her thing, stopping bullying. Bravo, Melania. Let's do this. Get your husband on board and let's make bullying a fucking crime. We got to fight back. My kid was being bullied when he was in elementary school. Every day, this kid was beating on him. So what I did was I pulled him aside and I said, listen, what toy do you want if you could have anything in the world? At the time, it was a Nintendo game. I said, all right, you punch this kid in the face. I'm putting a bounty on this kid's head. You smoke this motherfucker right in the face. I will come down to the school when they call me. And I'll come to the office and you'll be sitting there. And the principal's going to talk to me and say, your son punched a child in the face today. And I'll look at you. I said, Jesse, it was my son Jesse. I said, and I'll say, oh, son, we're going to have to talk about this when I get home. I said, yes, and I'll say to the principal, well, that's terrible that he did that. And believe me, I'm going to have a very serious talk with my boy. And when we walk out the door, we are going straight to Toys R Us, and I'm buying you that game. What did my son do? He smoked that bully in the nose, and he got the video game. Fight fire with a nuclear blast. There are organizations out there, great biker organizations like BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse, Guardians of the Children, a whole number of them, who stand up for abused children. Let's bring, as a part of that community and a supporter of BACA and Guardians of the Children and all these other great organizations that do great work, let's make bullying a part of our agenda. I know what you're saying, members of these organizations. We can't go around, we're grown men, go around beating up young kids, young girls, young boys. We can't go and take matters into their own hands. That's what they do, by the way. They don't beat up, but they go and, go to people's houses to protect abused children from abusive parents. They go to courts to protect the mothers when they're filing complaints from the abusive husbands. It's great what these groups do, but with these bullies, this is what we got to do. Got to go to the local dojos, go to the local mixed martial arts academies, and find the baddest 16, 17-year-old motherfuckers, male and female, that you can find, and make them a part of our organization. Send them in to handle the bullying. Because they're minors. They can't get arrested for assaulting a minor or anything like that. Send them in. Fight fire with a nuclear blast. The only thing bullies appreciate is an overwhelming showing of force. They appreciate a superior bullying. That shuts them down. That stops them. And if you think you're going to go and talk to the parents, say, oh, we got to talk to the parents. Come on. 99% of the parents of bullies and mean girls are bullies and mean girls themselves. Fact. Go to the house and try to talk to the parent of a bully, and you're going to talk to a bully. Now, on that front, it's kind of good because, we can go and, beat up the parents. But the fact remains, a pacifistic approach, a words campaign on social media is not doing anything. It's not changing these terrible boys and girls who are out there, who are making other people's lives miserable. Fuck the bullies. It's time to take a much more proactive approach to solving this problem. My friend Paige Jackson killed herself because she couldn't take the bullying. That has got to stop.